How are all my Pow Blocks doing today? This is TheStormPow, and I'm here to talk about what I hope to see from Elder Scrolls Online in E3 2013. Now, when I first heard about Elder Scrolls Online, I'm not gonna lie, I kept thinking in my head, this game isn't even gonna be made. Like, I kept thinking it was one of those ideas that a company made up, because at the time that I had first heard about it, honestly, there were a bunch of MMO ideas that kind of sprang up for a little bit, and, you know, like, a company would be like, hey, we like money, so let's make an MMO out of this very popular license of ours, and that'll make so much money. It's like, hey, people like Skyrim, so let's give them Skyrim, but they have to pay every month to play it. You know, I'm not necessarily saying that that's what Bethesda was thinking of. In fact, let me see, is Bethesda even making this? No, ZeniMax, which they usually partner with Bethesda anyway, but that appears to be the developer. I didn't know. I guess Bethesda's publishing it. Whatever, I don't know for sure all of the details about that, because when it was very first announced, I did a bunch of research on it, but I haven't in a little while. Haven't been keeping up with a whole lot of news, because honestly, they haven't been releasing a whole lot of news about TES Online for a little while, which kind of leads me to believe that there's going to be a huge bit of information here at E3. I'm hoping for some gameplay for one, because I don't think there's been any of that's been legitimately surfaced, or at least not a lot of it. I'm wanting a good gameplay demo of it, honestly. That would be sweet if I could see that. Because I'm really wondering how this would work out, because the way that, like, a lot of the Elder Scrolls games have worked, I've thought that they've worked perfectly for console/PC, like, which of course, you know, the MMOs, I'm sure, are going to be a PC exclusive, but I just can't see it going into much of an MMO format, because, for one, a lot of people prefer to play Elder Scrolls in first person. Am I right? Yes, I'm right. Of course I'm right. I'm StormPow. Anyway, and most MMOs, especially ones like these, don't really go in the first-person view, which is something that's going to be weird for me, I think. I can't see that exactly transitioning, which, I mean, Elder Scrolls can be played in a third-person view, but it's just, I think they're really going to have to tweak that if they want it to be as fluent as most MMOs go in the third-person view. I think that that'll definitely have to be worked with a little bit. One of the biggest things that I'm thinking of is abilities, because Elder Scrolls has never been that big on having a ton of abilities. Like, usually, Elder Scrolls games depend more on, of course, depending on which race you are, they tend to depend more on your actual items and equipment than actually using abilities. Now, some magical classes, you know, they have their little items, but it's not like, I just can't picture anything going into a typical MMO system where there is a hotbar or whatever at the bottom, you know, with all of your abilities, where you have, like, at least 4 or 5 abilities. I can't imagine that. Like, I guess it could work out. I mean, all they have to really do is make up abilities, but I guess my mind is a little too closed right now, because all I'm thinking is I'm thinking of Skyrim Online, basically. Like, I'm thinking of Skyrim and Oblivion, but with other people, and I need to open up my mind a little bit and realize that they can change this up. They can make the gameplay as different as they want to, and I'm sure they will. That would actually be the best. I don't want to just play Skyrim, but have to pay monthly to play it. And I hope that ZeniMax and Bethesda realize that, and that they end up changing things up enough, because, yeah, like I said, that would be dumb. Why would we pay monthly to play Skyrim? And that's what I'm so worried about with Elder Scrolls Online, is that they're going to do very little innovation, because honestly, a lot of Bethesda-produced games, or especially the ones like, you know, the Fallout series, the recent ones, and to a lesser extent, Skyrim and all that stuff, they've done very little innovation from their predecessors in the series, and that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, they're very good games, and they make brand new stories and all that stuff, but as far as gameplay mechanics go, there's usually very few actual tweaks to the gameplay. I mean, there was a pretty big difference between Oblivion and Skyrim, but then again, there was also a huge, not necessarily huge, but a pretty considerable gap between years of Oblivion and Skyrim, whereas there's not a huge gap in years between Skyrim and this Elder Scrolls Online, and it worries me with that. It worries me that they're not putting a whole lot of time into changing the gameplay of this, and that they're kind of going for a big cash grab out of this, and I so hope that's not it, because this has a lot of potential. But in the same sense, even if they change the gameplay in this, I don't exactly understand how it's going to be a whole lot different than, you know, most other kind of medieval MMOs, because as far as series go and franchises go, Elder Scrolls doesn't have a whole lot to offer that a lot of other medieval RPG kind of games don't. I mean, each one kind of bring their own things to the table, but I can't imagine Elder Scrolls Online standing out above all the others. I mean, I would imagine that they're going to throw dragons or something cool in there, or maybe they'll have some big storyline that ties into, you know, the worlds of some of the Elder Scrolls games. That would be always nice. But really, I can't imagine this standing out so much, and that's why I'm so excited for this, is because there's been so little information released about Elder Scrolls Online as of now, even though we've known about it for a while now. But, so that's making me think that they have a lot in store for us at E3 next week, and that's why I'm definitely going to be on the edge of my seat during their press conference during the show, or whenever they start doing some reveals or whatever, and I hope you guys are too. So this is basically what I'm thinking about for Elder Scrolls Online. I want to know what you guys think might spring up for us in terms of that game, but for now, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and goodbye!